Hello, and of course, welcome back to the Podium Podcast, where today it is the 2025 Australian Grand Prix driver ratings, rankings, whatever. We are going to be assessing each driver, all 20 of the grid, to see how well they've done or how well they might have done regarding whatever. But from 1 to 10, simple as that, 1 being the worst, 10 being an exceptional drive, which I don't think I've ever given out a 10 until now, maybe. Anyway, I'm not trying to spoil anything for you, but let's get into it because we've got a lot to get through. So yes, and also of course we'll be rating the Grand Prix in general out of 10 at the end, but stay all the way to the end for that. But let's start off with the pairing of Sauber, as they're called now. Sorry, I looked at Nico Hulkenberg and I was thinking, what? But Nico Hulkenberg started in a solid P17, qualified P17, sorry, finished P7. I'm going to give him good question. I'm going to give him, sorry, let me just move this. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 for Nico Hulkenberg. Why? It's his first race in Sauber. It was going to be difficult for any driver, especially those who are with a new team. He managed to take what was, it looked like a really poor car from last season, and he's managed to make something of it, and he's managed to score more points than Sauber ever did in 2024. So it's taken them one round to do what they couldn't even do in 24 rounds, which is, I don't know if it's down to the car just being a lot better this year, or it's just down to maybe Hulkenberg's expertise in the wet coming in hand. But regardless, he managed to optimize most out of the car, and I think it's a solid 7 out of 10. Moving on to his teammate, Mr. Gabriel Bortoleto. In his debut, he qualified 15th, however, he did DNF. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 as well. Reason being, he managed to get into Q2 in a Sauber. He managed to, for majority of the race, see things through. He managed to out-qualify Antonelli and Liam Lawson in a worse car, which is a bonus in itself. And in his debut is quite impressive. He did though crash on lap 45. I don't think it was his fault. I mean, if you look at the replay, it did see something did break off his car. I don't know if it was maybe a bit of a brake duct or something with the tyre. It was not just a case of that he just slipped off the track like many other drivers did. I do think that was a malfunction or some sort that he could not have done. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 because I think he's done fairly well, considering he was probably one of the lower, more rated rookies going into 2025. He's managed to, not cement his name so far, but just, do what he should be aiming to do, which is try and score points. Moving on to the Williams pairing, let's start with Alex Albon. Qualified in 6th position, finished 5th position. I'm going to give Alex Albon a solid 9 out of 10. I think his best drive of his career. That Williams looks really... I mean, this is difficult in the first race because we don't know what the pecking order for the cars are just yet, but still. Managed to maximize. He could not have done more. He did what the car was capable of. He managed to go into this weekend thinking, I'm going to do better than I have pretty much in the last 2 years, and he did. He's optimized it. He's gained his 10 points. He's managed to put his name in some sort of respect, considering people are thinking, oh, Carlos Sainz is just going to come into Williams and not really out him, but show that his teammates weren't really the best. But still, he's managed to do a terrific job. He could have got 4th, but Antonelli did have that time penalty, which was then later reversed. But still, P5, 10 points to Williams is an incredible start to the season, and I think that they will hope to keep this momentum on. Moving on to Carlos Sainz, started in P10 and DNF'd. I'm going to give him a solid 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 wasn't his best race. Yes, I think if you look at the dynamics of the telemetry there was some sort of malfunction in the throttle and with to do with the revs with his crash. But qualifying was okay. I mean, if your teammate is qualifying in P6 or P5 or whatever, and you're qualified 10th, it does seem a little bit that you're off the pace. Yes, this is a new team for him, but he ultimately does have more experience than his counterpart does, which in a race like this should have come in hand. Yes, he did crash. I mean, it was the middest of races for him. He did, however, apparently help Albon in their decision to bring him in for intermediates and help him obviously secure 10 solid points for Williams. But at the end of the day, he did crash. He's still on 0 points, whilst his teammate has got 10 more points than them, which we don't know how valuable that would be come later on in the season. But it's still, he definitely could have had a better start to his Williams career. But you learn, you move on. That's how you do it. Yuki Tsunoda now. Qualified P5, finished P12. Might be a little bit, what's the right word? Left field with this. But I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Qualifying was exceptional from Yuki Tsunoda. Beat Lawson. He absolutely destroyed Lawson. And it made people, really, really think about was Red Bull's decision to put Lawson in the Red Bull seat rather than his teammate, rather than Yuki Tsunoda, the best decision. We don't know for that for sure. It's only been one race, but for Liam Lawson to be qualifying in P17 or whatever, or not even escaping Q1, and Tsunoda to be in the top 5, I mean, it does make you really think either that Red Bull seat is really cursed or Tsunoda just did a mega impressive job. Regardless, he did a great job. However, his strategy at the end was absolutely just jeopardized with the rain coming in. He managed to really just, carve his way through the field. He was running in like P5 or P6 for a long time in the race, which would have bought him like decent points, and I think I would have given him more. But obviously at the end, the safety car came in. V-Carb decided to stay out to try and, make something up of it. But, I mean, there's not more you can do. It is what it is. But it was, I think it's a positive step in the right direction for V-Carb. I think they will have a decent car this season. And my prediction of him getting a podium in 2025 is looking ever more likely. To his teammate, the rookie Isaac Hadjar, qualified in a solid, to be fair, P11. However, did not complete the race. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. It was very unfortunate, his crash. It was obviously just a complete rookie error. Couldn't do much with the car. Just lost it on the formation lap. Yes, as he said, it was a bit embarrassing. Even Helmut Marko said that. But I think Helmut Marko said that his crying was more embarrassing, which I don't really see as embarrassing. It's just pure emotion. And it's just an unfortunate series of events for the, is he French? Yeah, he is French. For the French driver. But qualifying was really good, really strong. I was saying this in my race review podcast, but it seemed that the rookies that didn't have much hype and pressure managed to, in qualifying, just exceed everyone's expectation, which is a good thing. But still, the race is where it counts. He did not perform. He lost it. He will learn from this. It is probably a very difficult pill to swallow right now because, you're looking at not even completing one lap of Grand Prix racing. But still, it's something that happens to everyone. It's out of his system now, and I'm pretty sure he'll never make the same mistake again. Moving on to Haas. I was about to say Alpine right there because I looked at Esteban Ocon. Haas. Let's start with Ocon. Esteban Ocon qualified in P18 and finished 13th. I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10 for that. Not the best race. I'd probably say that is the most middest race you can get. I think Haas are probably the worst team. They were in the race far behind everyone else. They were the last of the runners. It was just, I suppose, unfortunate that Ocon had made the move to Haas. It was a very weird, move to Haas anyway. I said this last year, but it was a very driver career mode-esque move, which does happen. But, I mean, Haas looked bomb. You can't do much about it. All they can do really now is just focus on 26 and just try and make the best of what they have this year, because that car looks miles off the pace. I mean, if you're just looking at the timings, even with a safety car, Sonoda managed to pull out a 4 second gap in 2 laps between himself and Ocon. He did outqualify his teammate at least, but his teammate didn't even start, so I mean, you can't really say that. Failed to escape Q1 in qualifying, so really, really poor. In races, did not do much, made no impact. It was both the Hasses just running down in the last positions. They only moved up because people kept on crashing. So I mean, I guess that's a bonus of some sort, because at least they got to not crash, but still shocking regardless. Let's move on to his teammate, which I don't think is even better. Oliver Bearman did not qualify, started from the pit lane after a gearbox issue, and finished in 14th position. I'm going to give him, what will I say? I would say a 3 out of 10. One of the worst weekends that he could have possibly wanted, Oliver Bearman. He does have the pace. I mean, we saw on in especially Saudi Arabia and Azerbaijan last year, he does have pace. He can score points. But FP1 crash, FP2 doesn't start it, or minimal running. FP3 crashes again. Qualifying gearbox issue, and the race is just a whole lap down pretty much, because the Haas decided to stay out into for some reason during the second or third safety car. I'm thinking second safety car or third. There were too many safety cars. No, didn't know what he was doing out there. It was more of a learning curve more than anything else for Bearman. I mean, I was saying the same with Hadjar. It's gonna happen. You're gonna crash. I mean, that happens to every driver out there. But I mean, the Haas just looks poor in general, so they couldn't really do much. But crashing you can avoid, and he crashed twice, and it cost him hugely, because he had to replace a lot of his engine parts, which means that from the first weekend, at least 1 out of the 5 were, like, for example, the ICE, or the MG UK, or the MG UH, or the gearbox is gone, which would mean come near the latter stages of the championship, it will come to bite them back in the bottom. But I mean, it was just poor from Haas, and this year is definitely a write-off. Moving on to Alpine. Let's start with Pierre Gasly. Qualified P9, finished in 11th. 5 out of 10. Can't say much more about it. At least gone to Q3. If you compare that to last year, it's a big step up. But his teammate nearly scored points, on the verge. Obviously, he was only 4 seconds off. But it seems that Alpine are the top of Formula B, whilst the others are still in Formula A. The top 5 teams are still the top 5 team, or top 5. Yeah, top 5 teams are still top 5, and there is still a big gap between the bottom half and the top half. But I mean, he managed to keep his car on track. That's the main thing. I mean, to be fair, if you manage to keep your car on track in those type of conditions, that's already like a point there. But didn't really make an impact. Decided to just coast along, and he was the middest of races, to be fair, for Gasly. Can't really say much about it other than that. Moving on to Jack Doohan, the Australian rookie. Well, technically, he is technically a rookie, but in his second Grand Prix, he started in P14. Did not complete the race. He DNF'd on the first lap of the race. I'm gonna give him 6 out of 10. Why? Because he managed to do fairly well in qualifying, not too far off his teammate, who's had quite more experience than him. Managed to also, get nearly get into Q3, which is a huge bonus. We don't know where the Alpine is in pace wise, but I'll say around they're probably the 5th fastest team, so they're okay. They're getting along, if you know what I mean. But it does seem that the crash on the start was just lack of experience. dropped it. I mean, the only thing now is just it puts more pressure on himself. I mean, you've got Colapinto waiting in the wings, which is always going to be something that is going to be not haunting his career, but every single performance he makes is going to be obviously in shadow of what Colapinto will be thinking or doing, etc. But I mean, the crash was unfortunate. It didn't take much for anyone to crash out there. Even Fernando Alonso crashed, even Sainz crashed, even Hadjar crashed. But it was, I would say, I think Doohan does have some sort of pace. To be nearly on the verge of Q3 in an Alpine is fairly impressive. So that's why I'm saying whilst Gasly was just coasting along, with a lot of experience, you would suppose he would make more moves and maybe try something different. You know, if you're Gasly's probably 8th year in F1, you'll be thinking in the rain it would show, unless that Alpine is just that far behind. But Doohan managed to be quite close to him, so I don't think that Alpine is as horrible as it was last season. Moving on to top 5 now, the fun part of it, I suppose. Let's go with the Aston Martin pairing. Lance Stroll qualified in P13. However, finished 6th position. I'm going to give him, I think this is probably the best grade I've given him in a while. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. A really, really solid performance for Aston Martin, for Stroll. Whereas teammate couldn't really do much and failed to do well. He managed to really grab Sunday by the horns, saw the tricky conditions, and was like, I'm going to make the most out of it. We're going to do it. And he managed to get a solid 8 points for his team. Very impressive. I am really not happy, but it's good to see a driver who's been really, really struggling for a long time put a really good performance. And yes, qualifying wasn't the best. Qualifying was the most normal qualifying for Lance Stroll. I think he has finished 12th or 13th more times than I can count. But to finish 6th, whilst your teammate, who's a 2-time world champion and was flooring you last season and the season before, crashes, it must feel good for him. Going into China, he must have huge bounds of confidence of trying to get the best out of the car. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing what he can do more. So 7 out of 10 for Stroll. Whilst his teammate, that is a good question. Fernando Alonso, qualified 12th, DNF'd on lap 32. I'm going to give him the worst grade I've given him in a long time. A 3 out of 10. Honestly, look, it was difficult out there, but he's been in Formula 1 for nearly, 18, 19 years now. These rookie errors you can't be making after 19 years. We know how good Fernando Alonso is. And I don't know if this becomes with age or I really don't know. But it seems that it seems that maybe Alonso is maybe entering the twilight era of his career. I thought that in 2018, to be fair, but also 2017. But we're in 2025 and he's still going. Rookie era. I mean, today was a day that you would think Fernando Alonso and the old boys of Verstappen and Hamilton and Hulkenberg would capitalize on a day like this, but it seems that they have not. Maybe Stroll did show that the car has some sort of pace. I mean, Adrian Newey surely must now be working on at least the end of 2025. The end of 2025's car. Just very poor. Only one position ahead of his teammate, so qualifying wise they were matching each other. But race is where it counts, and definitely something. I might make a video on it, but is Alonso cooked? That'll be the title. But let's go to Mercedes. George Russell now qualified a solid P4, finish on the podium in 3rd. I'm going to give him a 8 out of 10. He did what I think the Mercedes could do. He maximized it. Honestly, would I say that he is do in the championship fight? No. However, I think he's done the best. I mean, Lando and Max were obviously miles ahead of all of them. Piastri as well was in the convo, but obviously his spin managed to really screw things up for him. But Mercedes are like maybe the second fastest team, I would say, out there. I think it goes McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. Ooh, Red Bull and Ferrari on the same pair, position, because I mean Russell looked fairly decent out there. Was he in a contention for the win? No, not at all. However, he was best of the rest, and that's what he needs, because it needs an Austria 2024 type incident where Lando and Max just crash into each other and ruin both their races for him to swoop up and win. I do think that Mercedes will be quite strong at some circuits, but it seems that, he can take the podiums, and I think the podiums will just count for themselves. And it's just a very good performance, and I think Mercedes have really, really a lot to be optimistic about in their pairing. As whilst I give Russell an 8 out of 10, I'm going to give Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who qualified P16. Yes, he did qualify P16. However, finished 4th. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. He could have not done anything better than what he did today. 16th in the rain in his first race for Mercedes in Formula 1, making his debut around a street circuit in interchangeable conditions. Wow. The moves he was pulling off on Hulkenberg, on Stroll, were moves that you would see Max Verstappen make. I've not seen this amount of talent, raw talent, that could be almost transferred into something that could be massive. He's really that talented. I'm worried for Russell. I'm worried for Lando. I'm worried for Max. Give it a season, and if Mercedes have even the slightest pace gap, I suppose, over the others, or even it's just in the fight for the top teams, wow, he can be a real threat. Yes, he will make crashes this season. Yes, he will make rookie errors. However, that's just life. That's how things work. You make mistakes, you learn from them, you move on. But honestly, terrific job. He just kept his calm. No complaining on the radio that you see from other drivers. Kept his calm, foot to the floor, did what he needed to do, and he reaps the rewards at the end of it, as Mercedes, I think, are joint top or second, but they're on the same level points as McLaren. Let's move to Red Bull now. Let's go for Verstappen. Verstappen qualified P3, finished second, 9 out of 10. That's what you get. What will I say about him? Yep, I don't think Red Bull are the fastest car. I mean, we'll talk about Lawson later, but he managed to keep his ground, keep his footing in the race, because I mean, I'm looking at the fastest lap now. Lando did a 22.1. His fastest lap was a 23.0. So you can see that there's almost a whole second in time between him and Max. It just shows that Verstappen's race pace is, I think, the only thing keeping him alive. I think qualifying will be difficult for Verstappen. I think the Red Bulls will struggle in qualifying, but I think races where they're gonna really capitalize on Verstappen's just just racecraft and his Grand Prix intelligence. I think I would say that he was only 0.8 seconds off the win. Give it a lap. If he had one more lap, I would not have been surprised to see him take the win. And to be fair, I did say that he was going to win, and I was only 1 second off anyway. But, I mean, around Albert Park, it is difficult to overtake, especially in the wet. So, for an overtake to happen in these type of conditions around Albert Park is quite challenging. But a very, very, very strong, I suppose, start to the season. I don't think Verstappen could have done anything better on Sunday. And I think he's cemented himself as a challenger. Well, not a challenger, but in the fight at least with the McLarens, I'd say. But I think in China we'll definitely get a clearer picture, especially as it's not raining and it is around a traditional circuit in that sort of sense. Moving on to his teammate, however, Liam Lawson. Did not qualify for what he did qualify P18, but started from the pit lane, and well, did not finish the race. A DNF. I'm gonna give him a 4 out of 10. Not his best race. Just that Red Bull does just look like a pain in the ass to drive. Would I say that Lawson will have to be not worried, but will have to be a bit more cautious on his approach to his future? Yes, I think I do think that his seat's at stake for 2026. I think that Red Bull will only get worse and worse until maybe 2026 comes around and something changes. But very difficult. Would I say that it was his worst race? Yes, 100%. Being so far off your teammate in qualifying P18 to P3, that's Sergio Perez levels. That's worse than Albon or Gasly. That's Sergio Perez levels of performance, and I'm worried. If this carries on, then I can't see him getting a point, let alone a podium or a win. Whilst his teammate just seems so much more comfortable with the car, so much more at one with the car. Yes, you've got the question: is the car built around Max? Yes, but in order to be great, you have to adapt, and I think, given he hasn't even completed the full season of Formula One, to give him with little to no experience compared to Max, a really difficult car to drive in a really tight championship against a really good teammate is a ask, and I don't think Lawson will manage to really match their expectations. Even in the race, he wasn't even that close to moving up the field. I know Antonelli had the same problem. Antonelli was obviously P16, but at least Antonelli started making moves and started not feeling the groove of the race, feeling the rhythm of making move, bam, next one, target, make it, bam. That's what you need to be doing in those races where it's more of a recovery drive than more of I need to conserve tires. It's more out and out attack. You don't know what's going to happen, like weather-wise. It's a street circuit, stuff can happen. But, it's going to be a difficult season for him. Let's move on to the top two teams of the grid? Yes, sorry, I'm very tired today. It's been a long day. Anyway, let's go for Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc qualified in P7, finished 8th. It can only be a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10? Yeah, 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. Honestly, just Ferrari being Ferrari. Not much has changed there, has it? Ferrari look like they're struggling a lot. It looks like it's a hard time for them. It's... what's the right word? It's off-putting for any Lewis fans, 100%. And would I say that they'll be looking for race wins? Maybe a couple, but it's looking quite rare. Extremely rare. Obviously, I thought going into qualifying, the reason why they were qualified 7th and 8th was because of they opted to make their setup more suitable for wet conditions. But it was just poor. Leclerc spun. It was difficult for him. It was just honestly one of the worst. I think this is the worst, except for 2009. This has been the worst start to a season for Ferrari in a while. They're not title challengers, no. I don't. Unless they make a dramatic comeback, I don't think they're title challengers. Leclerc himself said that this is not our year, and it's a shame. I really wanted to see Leclerc and Hamilton at the front fighting, but at this stage it's looking like it's not going to happen. Really. Let's move on to Lewis Hamilton. Qualified P8, finished P10. Oh god. It's going to have to be another 6 out of 10. I mean, Ferrari Strat were both for both of them. I would have given them maybe a 5 or a 4, but they were running first and second for like half a lap. But that was just down to a poor Ferrari strategy. So I mean, you can't really do much about that. But it's just Ferrari. I mean, if you're a Lewis fan now, it is not looking. You are praying that all of their resources and stuff is going to 2026 because God, it's not looking good at all. So move on to the last two of the video. Lando Norris qualified first, finished first. Got a Grand Slam as well. Actually, no, because he didn't need the race for the whole thing. But got fastest lap as well. 9 out of 10. Bish bash bosh. Top of the championship. The first time anyone's done that beside Max Verstappen in over 1,000 days. Looking quite strong. Looks like the title favourite. He is right now the man that everyone is, I suppose, trying to beat. He controlled the race from start to finish. Yes, he did have that off in lap 44, I think it was. However, unlike his teammate, managed to keep it on track. He looked a lot more confident out there compared to 2024. A lot more confident, a lot more knowing where the car's limits are. I think it's more he's matured a lot in this year, driving wise, and I think personality wise as well. He's become more, I suppose, not calm, but he's more mature in these situations, in these tough situations. Instead of let's say Russia 2021, when he was crying on the radio saying, I don't know what to do, help me out. He's saying, look, it's not ready for slicks. We won't go on slicks. It's ready for intermediates. Let's go on it. He's a lot more controlled, a lot more in charge, which is what I think a good driver and a championship winner does. He's managed to make it a pole to win, which he's only done, I think, 3 times actually. But started off the season perfectly. Could not have gone better for him. And I'd like to see what happens in China, especially. Let's go to his teammate, Oscar Piastri. Qualified in second. Finished in P9. 7 out of 10 for Oscar Piastri. Not his best weekend. I think his only 2 seasons in F1 is showed on Sunday. Obviously, very difficult conditions. Went off the track, and whilst his teammate could salvage it, I mean, just slipping off the track, you're a passenger in that. He had such a great race as well. He could have won. He had a good chance of winning as well because he was putting a lot of pressure on his teammates. Regardless, it is what it is. He has to move on. He has to, think about it because it was his home Grand Prix, which he could have won. But he's still in the title fight. He's still got that tenacity and that desire to win, and he must have it more now than before. It's interesting to see how the McLaren dynamics will play out this season because at this stage, it's going to be difficult for McLaren to manage both of them. I mean, Piastri wasn't the happiest to be told to hold position for the lead of his home Grand Prix, but that's how you're going to win a championship. I would not want to be on the McLaren pit wall for sure. That wraps it up for the drivers Grand Prix. Out of 10, what would I rate the Grand Prix? Good question. 9 out of 10. Great Grand Prix. Had everything you can need for a fantastic Grand Prix. You had the drama, you had the lead for the race, you had interchangeable conditions, you had crashes, you had everything. You had great stories, great plots with the rookies doing well and Lance Stroll doing well whilst people were struggling out there. And I think it really does set us up for hopefully an action-packed 2025 season. Anyway, that's it. Wrap up. Tomorrow will be the predictions for China. And yeah, thank you for listening or watching. Have a simply lovely day. Sorry, I'm very tired. And goodbye.